Hello, and first of all, I would like to thank everyone for coming here. I guess we need to just change the deck of slides. Thank you very much. And my Japanese is not as fluent as that of Joy, so I apologize that I'm going to be speaking in English, but I'll try to follow Nicola's advice and be as slow and precise as possible. So is the wireless working? Okay. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take the stage. I rather speak right in front, and engage you directly. So as you probably can see, I'm relatively young. I'm a new member of the Media Lab. I have been at the Media Lab only for a little bit less than 2 years. And when I came to the Media Lab, one of the things that I started thinking and wondering was, well, what is this word media about? No, it's a word that actually has been used in many, many different domains. So you start thinking, well, for people, for example, in the press, media means television and means, like newspapers and means, magazines. For someone in a wet lab in biology, media is what you use to grow cells. Yeah? So there are many different words, but one thing that kept on coming back to me was that when I go to a museum and I see a beautiful painting just like this one, I'm going to go and I'm going to be curious about maybe who painted the painting. And I'm going to see, that there's a little sign next to it, and it's going to tell me the name of the painting, the name of the artist, the year, and then it's going to say media, and it's going to say, for example, in this case, oil on canvas. So when I thought about that, I said, well, maybe to understand the word media, the question that I need to ask myself is, what would I get once I would remove the oil and the canvas? So you take a painting and you remove the oil and the canvas, physically there's not a lot left. So it must be that the painting, is a media for something else, something that is non-physical. So then, I started thinking about this, and I'm going to try to illustrate this idea of what media is by using a different example. I'm going to go back in time to the 1850s, and I'm going to introduce you to this famous man, that's called Michael Faraday. So Michael Faraday is a very important English scientist, and he was credited for helping unify magnetism, electricity, and light. As many of you know, he built on the work of others, of the French scientists Ørsted and Ampere, and they have actually found, that if you would take electricity and you put it on a coil, you would be able to create a magnet. But actually Faraday then, took this to the next level. He reversed it, and he found that if you take a magnet and you move it in front of a coil, you would get electricity. And actually the last set of experiments, that consume many of the years of his later part of life were the ones in which he took light and he showed that if you put a magnet in the right geometry, you can make that light beam turn. So Faraday discovered some very fundamental principles of nature. But he did not stop there. Faraday also was an artist, we can say. Faraday also had some media. And this is Faraday's media. Faraday is the inventor of the electric motor. So Faraday actually embedded the knowledge that he had produced into, a product that would allow others to actually have access to that knowledge without the need to know about induction, without the need to know about how to generate electricity or how to handle electricity. But you could access a product that would allow you to make use of that knowledge and make a practical use of that knowledge. So you think about that way, everything that we see is media, or everything that we see is crystallized imagination or crystallized knowledge. So you can think of every product that you get, for example, like a vacuum cleaner, in more artistic terms. You can think of a vacuum cleaner as Faraday laws on metal, plastic, and rubber. Or a harp is just a way of embedding Pythagoras laws into wood and strings as the media. And if you do a kitchen blender, you are a Van Gogh of some sort, because you're also using some media to embed laws, like in this case it would be Faraday laws, or knowledge on material science that goes into the creation of each one of these parts. So the question now is, well, how you do mediate knowledge. How do you get knowledge into knowledge vehicles? And in order to get knowledge into knowledge vehicles, even if it's for art or even if it's for technology, what you need to do is first get that knowledge into people. And the problem is that getting knowledge into people is kind of hard. So let me give you an example. Think that you just, woke up in the morning and your tooth really hurts. And now I'm going to give you a couple of options. Would you rather have access to a Wikipedia article that explains how to perform root canal surgery, or a dentist? You probably would want to have access to a dentist. And why is that? Because the knowledge that matters is not the knowledge that is accessible, through a magazine or through a book or through a newspaper, but the knowledge that matters in this case is the one that is actually embedded on the nervous system of a person. It's this tacit knowledge. Now, would you like just a dentist, or would you like a dentist and his or her set of tools? Well, you probably would like his or her set of tools as well, because you want that dentist to access knowledge on metallurgy and knowledge on, different chemicals that he gets through the products that he uses when he's going to do surgery on you. So what you see here is two things. First, that getting knowledge into people is very hard. And second, is that actually a lot of people are working with volumes of knowledge that are larger than the ones that they could hold. Because the dentist knows how to operate your teeth, but he does not know how to manufacture maybe many of the chemicals that he uses on you. Or he doesn't know how to manufacture the tools that he uses on you. But he's been able to access that knowledge, through these other products. So embedding knowledge into people requires years of work, and that brings us a little bit to what I think is like the root of the problem. The problem is that in our modern world, the amount of knowledge that we need to produce a product tends to be much larger than the one that we can fit on a single person. There are products that are simple, like for example here illustrate coffee and saying that requires a few person bites. And here a person bite is the amount of knowledge that you can fit on a person. That's like a fundamental unit, a fundamental constraint on society, the cognitive limit of an individual. A blender would be a product that is more complex than raw coffee and would require more person bites. And a car would be a much more complex product that would require a large number of person bites. And hence, that is why it needs to be done by either a large firm or by networks of firms. So how does society deal with this fundamental limitation? Well, the way that we do that is when we need large amounts of knowledge to produce something, we modularize that knowledge. We embed it into different people, into coherent units of people, and then we put it together through organizations or markets, such that then we're able to recreate those products, recreate the products that would require those large volumes of knowledge. So now in a world that is made of person bites, in which everything that we touch is made of crystallized imagination, we start thinking that actually there are different interpretations for things. Markets are not making us richer. They're making us wiser. Because when you're buying toothpaste, you're not buying access to some paste on a tube. What you're buying access to is to the knowledge of how to synthesize triclosan that resides on the nervous system of another person. When you're buying a bicycle, you're not just buying some metal tubes and a wheel and a steering wheel. You're buying access on metallurgy. You're buying access on how you shape these tubes, how you build these tires. So you're buying actually access to someone else's nervous system. Organizations are what make us smarter, because they are the ones that allow us to actually integrate and reconstruct all of this knowledge that has been divided. Adam Smith used to talk about the division of labor. We like to talk about the division of knowledge. So now the question is, well, how do you measure these people bites? How do you measure which country has more people bites? Which country has less people bites? How do you measure which product requires more people bites or which product requires less people bites? Well, if every product is a piece of crystallized knowledge, it embeds a certain amount of people bites, maybe if we know which country makes which product, we can actually reverse that. We can sort of take the square root and infer which country has more people bytes and which country has less people bytes. And we can also infer which product requires more people bytes and which products require less people bytes.